This video is going to go over some of the more challenging problems on yesterday's assignment, which was on factoring simple trinomials, section 7.5. So I'm going to go over numbers 16 and 17 by starting first going over what I did in number 15. So as you notice, we are looking for the area of a polynomial is given, and we want the dimensions of the length and width. So you want to start with your area formula. So that's where I started, right here. So that was the first thing I did. I wrote the area formula down, and then I wrote down what I knew. It was given that the area was 45 square feet, and I was given an expression for both the length and the width. So that's where the x minus 2 and the x minus 14 comes from. Now remember, to solve polynomials, for what we learned in section 4, they have to be in factored form and they have to equal 0. The problem is, it is in factored form. I have x minus 2 and x minus 14, but it doesn't equal 0. So I have to be able to subtract that 45, which I did later in the problem, to get a 0. But how do you subtract something if things are being multiplied? Remember, multiplication comes before addition and subtraction in order of operations. So that's exactly what you have to do. You have to multiply. I got a new polynomial at this step right here. Once I multiplied those two binomials together, then I was able to subtract that 45, and now I can factor, and I can factor with my x. And that's what I'm showing right here. Once I get this trinomial, I can factor with my x. And then once I've factored, now I can use the zero property principle and solve for x. Now you get two answers, but you can only have one. And I had to discard this answer because if I put -1 in right here for x, I get a negative length, and I can't have that. So that's why that one was out. All right, so let's do the same thing with the triangle. The only difference is going to be is that the area formula is different, and we have a half. We love fractions so much, so we'll have to get rid of that at some point. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to start with our area formula, and we're going to fill in everything we know. So we know the area is 35 square centimeters. We have our 1/2. We're given that the base is x minus 5, and we're given that the height is x minus 14. Now I just don't want to deal with that half, so I'm going to do just like we did when we were solving equations. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, so those will cancel out. They'll be gone. Then I don't have to distribute a half. I don't have any decimals or fractions, nothing. So now what I'm working with is 70 equals x minus 5 times x minus 14. Now I'm in the same situation I was before. I want to subtract that 70 so it equals 0, but before I can do that, I have to take care of multiplication. So I'm going to leave the 70 there, and then I'm going to multiply these two binomials together. So I get x squared minus 14x minus 5x, and then plus 70. Pretty sure that's right. Yep, that's 70. Okay, so now putting my like terms together, I have 70 equals x squared minus 19x plus 70. Oh, this is going to work out real nice. It's going to be super easy. So now I can subtract the 70. So I'm going to come over here. So now I have 0 equals x squared minus 19x. Now I can factor that, and that's going to be a GCF factoring. And when I do that, I get x, and then I have x minus 19. And setting my factors equal to 0, I have x equals 0, x minus 19 equals 0, adding 19, get x equals 19. Now looking back at the original problem, I can see that if I substitute 0 in here, I get a negative length. So that is out. So I can cross this one out. So my two answers are going to be, my height will be 19 minus 14, which is 5 centimeters. So that's h. And my other one will be, let me get rid of that bad attempt here, is going to be 19 minus 5, which is 14 centimeters. And you can check that to see if 1/2 14 times 5 is 35, which it is. So that's how you do number 16, or problems like that. And we'll see more of them as we go. All right, so number 17, it says write an equation of the form x squared plus bx plus c equals 0 that has the solutions x minus 3 and x equals 8. Explain how you found your answer. Well, what we're going to do is we're just going to work backwards from what we did. It's like we're starting here at the answers, and what we want to do is move back up to here, because this is where our factors are. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have x equals -3, and so I am going to add that 3 back, so that equals 0 there. So I have x plus 3 equals 0, and I'll do the same thing with the 8. So I have x minus 8 equals 0. So now I can put these two together. So I have x plus 3 times x minus 8. And I want it in standard form. There's the equal 0. So I'm going to set this equal to 0 like I did. And now all I have left to do is to multiply these two together. So I get x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 24 equals 0. Combining like terms. And now I can see what my a, b, and c are. Well, they don't give you a in this because we're assuming a is 1. So b is going to equal -5 and c equals -24. So again, I had lots of questions about these problems on email yesterday. So hopefully this will help you out with that.